I think they're making money on water.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, and they're selling the fluoride. Actually, I think it's going to be a lot easier to just read them the law that says the poisoning the water gets them 5 years in jail, and then file a lawsuit on that. The class action is because you have experts on both sides of this issue, and that puts it really difficult for a jury to say, okay, specifically you were harmed. Dental fluorosis is one that, yes, they would say you're specifically harmed from it, but the others, they're contributing factors for the thyroid problem that Paul was brought up briefly. If your thyroid is damaged, you're going to feel tired. If your thyroid damage got thyroid damage and you're feeling tired, you're going to start eating more. When you eat more, you're going to have more problems with obesity, and we see that. The fluoridated areas have more obesity. You're going to have, with your obesity, you also have your diabetes. Yes, we find in fluoridated areas there's more diabetes. We find also that there's a higher blood lead level in fluoridated areas for children. In other words, they go and they draw blood in areas of children where there's no fluoride and where there is fluoridated water, and they find a higher blood lead level in children who are fluoridated. I mean, why are we putting fluoride in the water, which has contaminants of the arsenic and the lead and the mercury, and it goes on and on the list of this contaminated industrial waste product? We know that it's a very strong acid that dissolves the lead from our faucets, etc. We know our children are getting higher blood lead levels. It's been tested. There's no question on this thing. And yet we keep on putting poisons in the water which are causing damage to our children. What do we do with the mother who comes up to me and says, I don't have a car. I've got this baby. I go to work and I'm hauling my baby to the grocery store and I'm hauling the diaper bag, and now you're telling me I need to haul my water home on the bus? Have you ever tried taking all those things on the bus? How can we be so cruel? And this nobody disagrees with that. I mean, those who are promoting fluoridation are saying mothers should not give formula to their infants made with fluoridated water.
What do you two think of shower filters?
They don't work for fluoride.
No, it'd be good for chlorine, but not for fluoride. Talking about hypothyroidism, there are millions of people with hypothyroidism in this country. It's an epidemic. The second most used prescription drug in the United States is Synthroid, which is for treating hypothyroidism. Now, I'm going to read you a quote here from the National Research Council report talking about subclinical hypothyroidism. These millions more people are sort of on the borderline of getting a disease which doctors would recognize. I don't know how many millions of people in the United States have subclinical hypothyroidism, but this is what the symptoms are, according to the National Research Council. While subclinical hypothyroidism is associated with increased cholesterol concentrations, increased incidence of depression, diminished response to standard psychiatric treatment, cognitive dysfunction, and in pregnant women, decreased IQ of their offspring. And, of course, Bill has mentioned lethargy and fatigue and obesity. I mean, you look around you. Look at how many obese people we have in this country. And to make matters worse, nobody in the health service that is promoting this silly practice is even looking to see if these things are related to fluoridation, arthritis, hypothyroidism, lowered IQ, bone fractures in children. They're just not looking.
No.
Yeah, and we've known a lot of those things since about 1850 when they first started using fluoride to create goiters and thyroid problems in dogs and people, etc.
What's going on, Paul, on a national basis with like fluoride alert? What's happening?
Well, we are growing exponentially. I mean, I think we've gone from just a few hundred people a few years ago. We went up to about 2,000. I think we now got a membership of approaching 10,000.
I think we crashed your website tonight, by the way.
Yes. The website is, since I've been campaigning, things have so dramatically changed in terms of the tools which we citizens can use: videotaping, video editing, Google, being able to put your videos on Google rather than to distribute them in hard copy, and of course the internet is just what the internet has done. And the internet ultimately would end fluoridation because they can't keep the data hidden. They can't hide the information anymore. They've got two strategies for promoting fluoridation. One is endorsements. This organization says it's the best thing since sliced bread. This organization, this organization, this organization. When you pursue those organizations, they can't give you rational answers to questions. They haven't kept up with the literature. Most of them haven't studied the literature. But it works with the people. And the second tactic that they use is to denigrate opponents and say that we're crazy and this is all the science that we're citing is junk science. Well, we got the National Research Council saying it ain't junk science, folks. Fluoride causes harm to the body. And with the internet, if people go to fluoridealert.org, on the left-hand side, you'll see a health database, and there's a huge amount of data there which goes through each tissue at a time: fluoride in the brain, fluoride in the thyroid, fluoride in the bone, and so on. And each section is thoroughly documented with all the references, even abstracts, even whole papers in some cases. So information, and organization. People out there, I would say, put more of your time, energy, and money in stopping fluoridation in your community than putting effort into, filtering your water and all that kind of stuff. If we get enough people doing that, we can end this thing once and for all.
And are some major cities, beyond the few you mentioned earlier, seriously considering this?
I wouldn't say major cities. I'm hopeful that we will get a major. So Quebec City was one, and some Canadian cities. Most of British Columbia is no longer fluoridated. We have some capitals which are not fluoridated. Albany is not fluoridated. They keep trying. They haven't been able to do it. The whole of Long Island is not fluoridated. But we're getting this. The dominoes are beginning to fall, but they're beginning to fall really with small towns. When you've got small towns, it's more rational process. It's often, in small towns, often an issue becomes the issue of focus. And when it becomes a focus, and when the media does its job, I go back to Juneau, Alaska for a moment. You need a couple of things to beat fluoridation. You need citizens organizing. It only needs a handful of people, but you need to. It shouldn't be one individual. It will crucify one individual. They'll marginalize one individual. You've got to have a group of friends working together.
Absolutely.
Secondly, you need the media giving both sides, even-handed. Publish those letters, but from both sides. Put an article, pro and con, from both sides. What we see, unfortunately, in too many places, a very superficial treatment. Imagine this is a typical article. Mrs. Bloggs from Canton, New York, says fluoridation is a bad idea. The Center of Disease Control says that fluoridation is one of the top 10 public health achievements of the 20th century. The local dental association, medical association, housemaid needs association says, all the professionals say it's okay. Now, the journalist has done his job, right?
He's using a standard news release. Right?
Yeah, that's right. But he's given both sides. In theory, he's given both sides.
True.
But giving both sides like that in that superficial fashion, the white coats are always going to win. It's the white coat syndrome. If it becomes an issue, like Plattsburgh, New York right now, Schenectady, New York are considering stopping fluoridation. What will happen?
Well, that's the music, Paul. That means we got to go. We'll be right back.